All right, we're pretty much done our application now. Let's talk about how we actually build this sucker for production and how you can get it on a number of different hosting platforms. So the way to build it is actually pretty simple. You just want to kill what you currently are running, so Control C. And let's actually show you real quick. If we open up our package.json, remember we have this build command here, and it just runs React scripts build. I'm going to show you what eject is in a minute as well. We just run npm run build. And if we open up the folder that we are currently in, it's going to make a folder called build. And what this is doing, I'll explain it while it's actually building, is it's going to take all of our files, all of our CSS, and all of the JavaScript we have written and compile it into one tiny little JavaScript file that has stripped out it strips out all the warnings, it strips out all the prop type stuff. That was all just for development. And then when we deploy it to production, we want a very small .js file. So if I open this sucker up right now, you'll see that we have a build folder. And inside of that build folder, you are seeing that we've got an images folder in index.html. It by default will give you a whole bunch of service worker stuff, which is great. It'll try to make it work offline, which I really like. And then inside of our static file, there is a JS file, which that is our entire application here. And then there is a map file, and that's what's called a source map. So if there are any actual errors, then that will point back to where the errors are. And that is a fairly large file, but your users do not load that. Only developers will load that. It looks like it's about 4.1 megs for me right now. And some services won't allow you to upload a file that big, and that's totally fine. You don't necessarily need that for production. That's more of a development thing. But if you do have errors in production, it's nice to be able to know that the error is not in this mumbled, jumbled, uglified thing. It's in it. Then this will tell you exactly where the errors are coming from in your source files. Then it's going to give us a media folder, and inside of that media folder, I don't know, we got our anchor that we use, we got the font that I used, and that's pretty much it. And then in our CSS, it will kick out the .css file. And again, that's Webpack taking in that imported CSS and kicking it out to an external .css file. And then this index.html is going to point to all of these things. Good. So this is almost a static site, and that will allow us to drag and drop that sucker up on any of the different hosting services we have. The only thing that we need to know is if I were to try to open that up, you'll see that it doesn't work, and it gives us some errors. And that's because this still needs to be run through a server. And the most important part is that because when I'm on these URLs right here, the server needs to be smart enough to not look into a folder called store and a folder called elegant thoughtless diagnoses. It should tell us, okay, regardless of what the URL is, send everybody right back to this index.html file. And then we're going to have to figure out the routing on the client side via React Router. So over the next couple of videos, I'm going to show you how to deploy it to some of the more popular hosting platforms right now.